An Independence family's attempt to adopt a baby ends in an expensive and painful lesson.
When you think about the turmoil that it makes her go through and my family go through, it's hard.
This is the day that a couple believed they would bring a new baby home.
Instead, they are out thousands of dollars. They shared their story with KCTV5's Natalie Davis so that others don't go through what they have.
This is a video the Duckworth family made introducing themselves to the baby they hoped to adopt. But that adoption went terribly wrong. The Duckworths were blessed with their adoptive son, Riker, 3 years ago. They were excited to grow their family with a baby girl.
We get excited about filling this room, but it's empty.
An Arkansas woman agreed to let them adopt her baby. They coordinated through adoption.com and got attorneys involved. They thought everything was set, but they soon found out it was too good to be true.
Every day she would start texting us and calling us and asking for more money.
They found the woman and her boyfriend under a fake name on Facebook. Each time they'd send money to help her, they'd show off the cash and go on shopping sprees for expensive shoes and clothes. $8,000 in legal fees and support for this woman gone. And more heartbreaking, so is the baby. Missouri law allows a birth mother to change her mind about adoption, but the Duckworths now think she never had any intention of giving up the child.
We're now to the point where we have to decide if we can start over or not.
The joy their son Riker gives them is what keeps them going.
We have a lot of hope. And we're excited. I mean, this isn't in. This isn't the end for us.
The Duckworths plan to press fraud charges against the couple in Arkansas for the money they allegedly took and misused. Natalie Davis, KCTV5 News.
The laws surrounding adoption are complex and different in every state, so experts recommend always going through an accredited adoption agency to help you navigate the process.
Kansas Congressman Kevin Yoder is facing one of the toughest challenges of his career from a Democrat few people had heard of months ago, Jay Sidey. Sidey is close in the polls despite holding relatively few campaign events. KCTV5's Lisa D'Souza spoke with both candidates about the tight race, and she's live tonight in KCK. Lisa?
Well, Brad, this race gaining national attention. It's one of 3 races pundits say could predict who controls the House. And of course, it's making the campaign trail that much more brutal. You've probably seen the campaign ads pointing out that Democrat Jay Sidey has not held many campaign events and shied away from the media. We talked with him when Sidey was advance voting earlier this week. Here's what he had to say.
I've been out. I had, like I say, a lot of meetings, a lot of events, and then a lot of my time is spent fundraising.
And Sidey's ads quick to link incumbent Kevin Yoder to unpopular Kansas Governor Sam Brownback, along with dysfunction within the Republican Party. On a voter tour, we met with Yoder at the University of Kansas Medical Center. Here's how he's responding.
I'm in Washington, D.C., and I think he'd rather run for the state legislature, which is fine, but I'm focused on how we support policies that help improve our community.
Election day now just a few days away. Recent polling shows Yoder leading Sidey by just 4 points. That's within the margin of error. Live in KCK, Lisa D'Souza, KCTV5 News.
Thanks, Lisa. Record numbers of advanced voters means heavy traffic at the Johnson County Election Office. So late, the police have made a change to make things smoother for drivers. Chopper 5 shows us what it looks like right now. The cones mean drivers cannot make a left turn going into or exiting the election office. Police warn that you should still probably expect some delays.
Yesterday's rains left us with some slightly cooler temperatures, but still above normal. Storm Track 5 meteorologist Gary Amble is here with your first forecast.
Well, that pretty much said it all, Brad. That's the way it's going to be. It will be cooler than the past few days, but at the same time, well above normal, 67 degrees. So temperatures have dropped off by about 5 degrees or so since last hour. North winds cruising in at about 6 miles an hour. The humidity is really low at 47%, and that is key. A dry atmosphere allows those temperatures to drop quickly. And check out how long the shadows are now at the Country Club Plaza. Yeah, that's making me sad too. The daylight hours are really starting to skinny up these days. 62 degrees expected at 7. 57 degrees by 9 p.m. And overnight, it drops to a very chilly 46 degrees. Friday starts out cool, but Ellen, it doesn't end up that way. A look ahead to your Friday and your weekend. That's coming up in just minutes.
See you then. Thanks, Gary. Emergency response to gas leaks in much of Johnson and Wyandotte counties could soon be impacted due to a dispute over a union contract. KCTV5's Betsy Webster is live in Overland Park, where Kansas gas service crews are picketing right now. Betsy.
Well, Ellen, they call this an informational picket. There are more than 30 people out here right now. I want you to take a look at some of their signs because this gives you an idea of their concerns. This one here points out that they say that profits are up, but the core wages are not following suit. They're also upset about the healthcare insurance company that they are supposed to be switched to. Now, the building behind them at 89th and Neiman is the shop where the construction and maintenance crews report to work, and they are still reporting to work for now. This is the second picket today by members of the United Steelworkers Local 12561. They were out here this morning, too. Their current contract hit its end point last week. They are still negotiating under a day-to-day contract extension, but they are threatening to strike if they don't get better health care coverage and what they call fair wages. Now, these folks represent about half of the utilities staff, so a strike would not impact billing or turning existing lines on or off. But these folks are the ones who respond to hit lines, gas leaks, and calls about gas odors. So that is what is at risk for the utility's more than 160,000 customers in the metro. A Kansas Gas Service spokeswoman sent us a statement emphasizing that they are still negotiating and the crews are still working. She went on to write that, quote, "The first priority for Kansas Gas Service is the safety and continued service for customers and the public. Our goal is to balance the interests of all of our stakeholders while maintaining reasonable rates." So how long before this informational picket turns into a strike? Well, they have 2 days notice that they have to give in order to cease that contract extension. Once they are no longer under contract, they can begin to strike, but before they do that, they need the approval from the union's local board and then the union's national board. That part of it is hard to translate into a specific number of days. Live in Overland Park, Kansas, Betsy Webster, KCTV5 News.
Thanks, Betsy. You could soon qualify for a refund from the city. We first told you about a $2.4 million class action settlement last night. Well, today, the council approved it. It involves fees people pay to cancel bench warrants. That fee was not legal under Missouri law. We'll keep you posted on how you can get a refund if you qualify.
The Kansas City Chiefs go into Sunday's game against Jacksonville with a banged-up offense, but a defense that's growing stronger. Sports director Michael Coleman is live at Arrowhead with a look at a key contributor to that defense. MC?
Yeah. Well, Brad, all season long, for the most part, we've been asking the question, where is D Ford? Because as you all know, the Chiefs had fallen short in delivering sacks to the quarterback. Take a look here. Of course, Sunday against the Colts, a season high 6.5 sacks, 3.5 of those to number 55. Yes, D Ford. And by the way, he is tied for 5th with 7 sacks in the National Football League. Justin Houston waiting to return. He's the sack king of the Chiefs. They come up short until Sunday. Ford, as I said, a former #1 draft pick, has impressed lately, but still has a ways to go, but the improvement is there. And soon, KC will face top-tier quarterbacks where pressure will be needed, as it was Sunday.
Now I think he's kind of, taking his pass rush game, and he's improved that and made it more complete. And I think that, he's it's like anything you learn, and you understand, okay, look, there's certain elements of pass rush that got to be present all the time.
We have high expectations for D Ford. He's a guy that we take a lot of pride in when we send him to go get the quarterback. His speed off the edge, his strength off the edge. Not a big guy, but very, very explosive.
Now, as a team, the Chiefs are tied at 21 with 14 sacks, but as I said, Mr. Ford leads the way. This coming weekend, they're facing Blake Bortles, a big quarterback, but he's thrown 12 picks this season, so more pressure perhaps will increase the interception rate. Real quick, if you notice my Negro League baseball sweater, it's my tribute to last night's World Series. Satchel Paige, a former Monarch, pitched for the World Series Indians in 48, and of course Ernie Banks and Buck O'Neil, longtime associates and player and coach with the Chicago Cubs, And congratulations to them. More on that later on tonight at 9 and 10. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Michael. And speaking of the World Series, last night, the Cubs fans in Chicago and really elsewhere experienced the kind of joy that we felt last year in KC. Of course, their wait for a championship was even longer than Royals fans experienced. KCTV5's Danny Welniak joins us now with one Royals thoughts on watching that massive celebration. Danny?
Yeah, well, that certainly was fun, and there aren't many baseball players and sports fans in general who didn't have their eyes glued to Game 7 of the World Series. Royals pitcher Danny Duffy, no exception. He watched the game last night all the way through and told us the level of excitement in that game ranks right up there with their wild card game. Danny was out at KC Pet Project today volunteering his time and helping with the upkeep where we caught up with him. He told us he has friends on both the Indians and the Cubs, so he could not root for either team. However, there's a lot of love there for his former Royals teammate, Ben Zobrist, who's now the 2016 World Series MVP.
If I had to choose, I'm really happy that Zobrist fared so well, and there's not a better, more deserving guy than him to get anything positive that's coming to him.
There was one Chiefs coordinator who was wholeheartedly rooting for Chicago. Dave Tobe was the special teams coordinator for the Bears for 8 years and let us know he has a soft spot for the Cubs.
How about those Cubs? When they put the tarp down, I was like, man, I got to go to bed, but I just couldn't. I had to watch it. It was awesome.
Well, that was the first thing that Tobe said at the press conference today, and I'm sure he's not the only Cubs fan in that locker room. Now, this also means the Royals are no longer the defending World Series champs, guys. I know, shed a little bit of a tear, but I'd say 366-ish days is a pretty good run, and also that in kind of a passing of the torch, the Royals sent the Cubs some pizza today that has now become a tradition within the last couple of years, so that's pretty cool.
It is. There were a lot of Royal connections to what happened last night.
Well, Ben Zobrist right there at the top, the MVP, and we know what he did for the Royals last year, so it's been so much fun to watch this series.
It was a fun series, no doubt. Thanks, Danny. It's a noise that people in one Shawnee neighborhood have learned to live with.
Trains blasting their horns throughout the day, every day, but there is some relief on the way. Next at 6, how neighbors work together to find a way to silence those horns.
And our warm weather keeps rolling. Find out how that's helping those who grow things to eat. Gary?
Well, thinking about taking the dog for a walk this evening? Your dog won't need a jacket, but you will. It's going to cool off quickly. I'll tell you how much colder it gets, and then when it warms up again. It's all in your Storm Track 5 forecast next.
You're watching KCTV 5 News at 6.
Breaking news, Chopper 5 is over a water main break inside of a building at 11th and Elmwood. Dennis, can you tell me the name of this business again? The name of this business is Art Craft Nameplate. This is right at 11th and Elmwood, and you can see water just shooting out of that building there. So again, this water main break causing some major problems at 11th and Elmwood. We'll continue to keep an eye on this, and we'll let you know what happens here. Ellen?
Dramatic. Every day, people in a Shawnee neighborhood hear this over and over. And the problem, 2 small railroad crossings right here on Martindale Road at 73rd and 75th Street. You can see them right there. So when trains go through there, they have to sound their horns at those crossings. New at 6, KCTV5's Jonathan Carter is live to explain how the city and neighbors pitched in on a plan that could finally bring some peace and quiet. Jonathan.
Well, Ellen, it said you can't put a price on peace of mind, but the folks who live in West Shawnee near these tracks say, yes, you can. It's $44,000. One time was bad enough, but imagine hearing train horns blaring 89 times per day. That's reality for folks in West Shawnee along Martindale between 73rd and 75th.
It can definitely, it can bother you at times, definitely. It's hard to have people over. It's hard to really talk to people even when you're inside.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the neck, you know, because they are kind of loud at times. And some of them guys kind of abuse the horn some, but, you know, they got federal laws they got to follow. And I imagine if people work nights, it probably bother them more than anything.
Now there's a solution thanks to the city's Public Works Department.
We're going to silence those horns by either closing crossings or by creating quiet zones. So what everybody traditionally sees at a crossing, so lights and gates and medians, we're going to be installing some of those.
Residents near the tracks are helping to make it happen. They passed the hat, chipping in $44,000 along with the cooperation of homeowner David Haynes.
In order to close one of the crossings, we do need to build a bridge across this Mill Creek, which goes right across Mr. Haynes' property. And that's going to be what that $44,000 the residents have raised is going to go towards.
It's going to be nice because I can talk to people on the phone and they don't hear the trains. Oh, we hear a train, you know. So it's definitely going to improve life a lot.
And there's the train right there. Now the city hopes to start construction on the new crossings in the beginning of the year and finish by the end of 2017. Live in Shawnee, Jonathan Carter, KCTV5 News.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, right on cue. That train is going on by. Thanks so much.
All right, it is the 3rd of November, and Kansas City has not seen a hard freeze and doesn't have one in the forecast. Many are taking advantage of that extra growing time. KCTV5's Ronell Williams shows us.
Mike Murray and his wife run a produce stand in Kansas City, Kansas, and say that since we haven't had a hard frost or freeze yet, there's no need to store anything. They just go out, pick it, and that's it. It's called Riverview Garden Center. It's located at 78th and Riverview Avenue. Of course, the community has been very vocal in their joy to get fresh produce all the way into November. Mike says previous years have varied when it comes to warm air carrying this far into the fall season. But this is around the time when they usually pack everything up and start storing.
People are obviously surprised that we still have tomatoes and peppers. We're one of the few, if anybody, that has any tomatoes left in the entire county.
Now, once we do get that hard frost or freeze, that's not going to be it for the Murrays. They've also got 8 greenhouses, and they're going to start growing produce again in January. In Kansas City, Kansas, Ronell Williams, KCTV5 News.
Now, your Storm Track 5 forecast, certified most accurate in Kansas City, with meteorologist Gary Amble.
Well, it's a beautiful evening, but temperatures are falling very, very quickly. And I got to tell you, Mike, I still have tomatoes on my vine yet to pick, even though it shouldn't be happening. Looking outside at the diagnostic imaging tower camera, the sun has just now dipped down below the horizon. Now just watch from this point forward through the evening. Those temperatures are going to cool off very, very quickly. Look what's already going on in Gladstone, 63 degrees. Just an hour ago, everyone was at about 70. You see how fast these temperatures will fall? Shawnee at 65, Olathe 67. Lee Summit about 69 degrees. Still hanging in there. Blue Springs at 70 degrees. The whole Midwest is enjoying this beautiful weather, and without any cold air to be found anywhere in the Midwest, you know that Friday is going to be a beautiful day, and it will, certainly starting out with clear skies. Clear overnight, but clear skies overnight with low humidity. That's going to make for a very cool, chilly, and crisp Friday morning. That first step out the door, as a matter of fact, will drop to 46 degrees. But because the air is dry, that's also an easy air mass to warm back up again. And temperatures will warm quickly, so let's take a look at that. Typical high at this time of year would be 59 degrees, and typically, as Ronell was saying, there should be no more tomatoes on the vine, but there are this year. 46 in the morning, as you saw before, but 52 at 9. Temperatures then will spike to 63 by noontime. See how quickly that temperature will go up, and at 3 o'clock, it reaches that zenith point at 71 degrees. But then just as quickly as the temps go up, you lose the sunshine, and down it goes again. 68 at 5 and 60 degrees expected by 7 p.m. Northern zones will end up just slightly cooler, but you have to go all the way to the northern end of the northern zone to find it. 69 Maryville, 68 Bethany. Cameron hits 69 degrees. Central zones, it's all sunny skies, and that pushes the high in Kansas City to 71. Richmond, Carrollton, really close to 70. It wouldn't shock me if a couple of those areas would hit 70 degrees tomorrow, and low 70s in the southern zone. So consistent all the way across all zones. I think you will love the afternoon, and it's Friday, right? 71 degrees Friday, 69 Saturday. Don't forget, set that clock backwards 1 hour, and don't forget to change the batteries in the smoke detector. Use that extra hour maybe to do that chore. 66 on Sunday. Chiefs will have a beautiful autumn feeling day to play out at Arrowhead Stadium. That should be gorgeous. 62, the best rain chance is Monday, only 40%. Just rain, doubtful if you'll hear thunder. 20% chance early in the day Tuesday. That's election day, so no excuses. And by the way, if it does rain at all on Tuesday, it's going to be little more than just a sprinkle or two. After that, it looks like a pretty chilly finish to the work week. Ellen?
Not a lot to complain about. Thanks, Gary. Take 5 to care and help local families stay warm this winter. Stop by KCTV5 or any drop site location on Saturday, November the 5th. For details or to make a cash donation, head to kctv5.com and click Take 5 to care.
It is really hard to argue that this isn't the best time of the season, or the best time of the year.
I love it. It shouldn't be like it this time of the year. This is what it should be like in early October, but here's your early October forecast. Temperatures slipping into the 60s soon.
From the station that stands for Kansas